purpose of the DOT Hazmat requirements. And while this training provides more general knowledge of the Hazmat regulations, your job or position may require additional training covering more detailed information on the components of Hazmat. During this Hazmat General Overview training, we will discuss the purpose of the Hazmat regulations, who's subject to the Hazmat regulations, some of the Hazmat definitions, the hazardous material table, hazard classes and divisions, shipping papers, marking and labeling, placarding, emergency response overview, security awareness, loading and unloading, and highway transportation. But let's first look at the purpose of the Hazmat regulations. Movement of hazardous materials is regulated by the U.S. Department of Transportation's Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration. The PHMSA ensures the safe, secure, reliable handling and transport of all hazardous materials to industry and consumers through pipeline transportation systems and shipments by land, sea, and air. Federal regulations require companies to train all employees working with such materials. Without proper training and certification, employees may not perform any function relating to hazardous materials. So who is subject to the Hazmat regulations? Well, if you load or unload, pack or handle hazardous material, prepare hazardous material for transport, manufacture, test, recondition, or mark shipping containers for Hazmat, provide hazard and other information for shipping papers, prepare shipping papers, certification, hazardous waste manifests for other docks, or operate a vehicle used for Hazmat, in other words, the jobs you might see here, then you are subject to the DOT Hazmat regulations. Let's now look at some of the Hazmat training requirements. Training must be provided to all existing Hazmat employees as well as new employees. New employees must be trained within 90 days of hire. Existing employees that change to a Hazmat position must be trained within 90 days of the change. Any new or transferred employees may perform their new job function during the 90-day training period, provided they are under supervision of a properly trained and certified Hazmat employee. For recurrent training, all Hazmat employees must receive training for their job responsibilities at least once every 3 years. And training from a previous employer or other source may be used to meet the requirements of the regulations if it relates to the employee's current job function. A current record of such training must be obtained from the previous employer or other training source. There are several different levels of hazmat. The information can be communicated through shipping papers, package labeling, package marking, and vehicle placarding. Let's now look at each column of the Hazmat table and the importance of each. Column 1 is for symbols. A plus sign means it fixes the proper shipping name, hazard class, and packing group without regard to whether the materials meet the definition of that class or packing group or meets any other hazard class. A restricts the requirements to materials that are being transported by air. D identifies proper shipping name of materials being transported domestically. A G identifies proper shipping names for which one or more technical names of the materials must be entered in parentheses. I identifies proper shipping names which are appropriate for international transport. And W restricts the requirements to materials being transported by vessel. Column 2, you'll find the proper shipping name. The proper shipping name is listed in Roman type in the Hazmat for explosives. These materials are divided into 6 divisions, with Division 1.1 being the most dangerous and 1.6 being the least dangerous. Hazard Class 2 is for gases, with 3 divisions beneath that. 2.1 for flammable gas, 2.2 for non-flammable, and 2.3 for poison gases. Hazard Class 3 is for flammable liquids and combustible liquids. Flammable liquids are a liquid having a flash point no higher than 141 degrees Fahrenheit, while combustible liquids are a liquid that doesn't meet the definition of any other hazard class and has a flash point above 141 degrees but below 200. Hazard Class 4 is for flammable solids, with the 3 divisions beneath it. Hazard Class 5 are for oxidizers and organic peroxides. These provide excess oxygen during a fire and increase the severity of the fire or can even cause an explosion. The Emergency Response Guidebook is a good reference for the initial emergency response steps to be taken in a hazmat incident. Once you've determined the shipping name or ID number, you can refer to one of 4 main sections in this guidebook to help you. Let's look at each section in the guidebook to see how. The yellow section allows you to reference the material by the identification number. By looking up the ID number, this section will then give the material and refer you to a guide page for emergency response information. For example, if you knew only that your material ID number was 1202, the yellow section would show that this number is for diesel fuel or fuel oil and reference you to guide page 128 for further information. The blue section allows you to reference the material by the name, for example, asbestos. There you will find the identification number as well as the guidebook page for further information. The orange section is where you'll find the guide pages referred to in both the blue and yellow sections, and the most important component of the Emergency Response Guidebook. Vital emergency response information can be found here for hazardous materials. In this section you will find detailed information on the potential hazards of fire or explosion or to health, details on personal protective equipment to be worn, as well as evacuation distances. For proper loading and unloading procedures, we'll first look at Class 3 flammable liquids. The general requirements for this class are found in the 177.834 regulation. Packages must be secured in vehicles. No smoking while loading or unloading. The handbrake must be set, and reasonable care must be taken to prevent undue rise in temperature of containers and their contents during transit. The attendance requirements for a Class 3 say that a motor carrier who transports hazardous materials by a cargo tank must ensure that the cargo tank is attended by a qualified person at all times during loading and unloading. Attends means alert and within 25 feet of the cargo tank. The person must have an unobstructed view of the tank and hose. And unless the engine of a cargo tank truck is to be used for operating a pump, no Class 3 materials should be loaded or unloaded from any cargo tank while the engine is running. The bonding and grounding requirements for non-cargo tanks say that containers not in metallic contact, metallic bonds, or ground conductors should be used. First, connect the electrical conductor to the container. For highway transportation, only drivers trained in the requirements of 49 CFR can operate a hazmat vehicle. You're also required to obtain a hazmat endorsement on the driver's license. When transporting shipments of hazardous materials, the driver must check the shipment is correctly marked, labeled, and identified by the shipper, refuse any leaking packages, attach required placarding, follow all laws and regulations, keep hazardous materials shipping papers and emergency response information easily accessible in transport, and report any accidents or incidents involving hazmat